Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Journey to DevelopHer Podcast. I'm your host, Deontay Chantel. Today, we have two amazing special guests, Mr. Nigel Sydnor and also Mr. Win Willis. How are you guys today?
Doing really well. Thank you for having us today.
Awesome.
I'm
So
doing
thank
fine.
you guys. Oh, hey. So these guys are the amazing founders of the myZorro crowdfunding app. And I've been hearing great things about it. I found you guys on Instagram. I'm not sure how, but you're doing an amazing job in the Baltimore, Maryland market. And I'm sure you're going to be sweeping the United States soon with your real estate development company and your crowdfunding app. So just congratulations to you guys and kudos to you guys. And thanks for coming on. Also, we did have a mastermind recently. We had both of you guys were in the building. So thanks for being a part of that. I must say, I didn't get to watch the replay yet, but I know based on the audience, they were raving about the whole day itself, the whole event itself. So thank you guys for being a part of it. And hopefully we can do some more things together in the future. Just wanted to start with that and just give you your flowers for being a part of it and just bringing value and pouring into people.
No, thank you for having us. And thank you for putting that together because at the end of the day, people need to gain more awareness about real estate and some of the different ways that real estate can be done at a very high level. It's a very, very talented room. Really great to engage and just be in a room full of people that just want to talk and learn about real estate.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. And it's so interesting. It was hard not to be a part of a lot of the panels because I'm also operating just like everyone else is operating. I'm a developer. I don't do crowdfunding, at least not yet anyway. But I'm also a developer. I'm also an investor. So it was hard to be in the background, just making sure everything goes smoothly, right? And making sure that the information was there. I didn't want to put on a conference that was fluff. Like I wanted people to really get value and really be able not to just talk about real estate, but to start implementing, start executing. That's why I even had like city officials there so they can get in contact with the people that actually helped me become a designated developer. I wanted them in the building. So there's no excuse as to why people can't get started today. But you guys are doing pretty much the same thing, even at a greater level in Baltimore, Maryland. And of course, let's start with the introductions. Let's start with Win. Tell us about yourself and what you do in real estate.
Yeah. So as well as being a co-founder of myZorro with Nigel, I operate a family-owned development company called Bull Development. We have about 7 projects active between single family and multifamily mixed use projects in Baltimore City, totaling around maybe 115 million. I'm in a pipeline over the next 2 years. I'll be delivered, and looking to expand, not just in Baltimore, in the other areas of Baltimore, but outside of Baltimore as well over the next 3 years. So we've been very busy. We're a mission-oriented development company where we focus really on communities that have been underserved for decades and underdeveloped. So we feel like we're poised to represent not only our community, but also to just execute at a high level and be able to deliver the things that we know we need and that are really more culturally relevant than they are just, on the spreadsheet or that, and pro formas that we put together. So things that actually fit what we need instead of just, things that fit the numbers.
Awesome. I love that. I love that you're doing great things in the community. And you, like you said, you're mission led. Like you want to really change the trajectory of these urban cities throughout America. That's also my mission too. So I love that you're doing it and you're doing it at a high level. So awesome. And Nigel, tell us a little bit about yourself. And you can even talk to us about how you got into real estate as well.
Yeah, totally. So my name's Nigel Sydnor. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland as well. Winfield and I, we went to middle school together, high school and college. And now we have the privilege of founding a company together. But the reason why I got into real estate was very similar to Winfield, right? I've grown up loving real estate. My dad owned a couple of hundred houses when I was growing up. He always used to do different deals and be a part of different deals, but he was always on the side of the deal of bringing people together and being able to raise the funds. So Winfield's dad was more the development side. My dad was more on the side of raising funds and just being able to build continuity and build communities. So in the case of how I got in real estate or why I'm in real estate, formerly I was at a private equity real estate firm before. So a lot of the investors that they had, doctors, entrepreneurs, lawyers, what have you, that could write a really, really big check size, but the education piece wasn't what I wanted it to be. The hands-on piece, being able to touch the people, wasn't what I wanted it to be. And then also the amount of people that looked like you and I wasn't what I wanted it to be. So when I look at the past background of my parents, when I look at what I'm passionate about, when I look at my people and how real estate has changed so many lives and other reasons, I wanted to be able to bring those same opportunities back to our environment and to our communities.
Oh, I love it. Fun fact, I mean, I don't know if y'all checked out the podcast or not, but my dad was also in real estate.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
he wasn't really there active. He didn't show me anything about real estate until I actually went to him for money one day for a wholesale deal. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I used to do that." I was like, "Oh, I didn't." You know, he had a whole bank technically, and he was
Wow.
a big investor in Brooklyn. And he's an immigrant from Jamaica. So, it went through the bloodline, apparently. The
Yeah.
spirit definitely touched me. And now I'm in real estate. It's like I live, breathe, and sleep real estate. So I love to hear that both of you are just living on with your family's legacy, your dads or your moms or whoever.
Yeah.
Literally not got you, but they already set the foundation for you.
Yeah.
And then all you had to do is just gravitate to it and take the ball and run. Right. So I love that. And then even doing it probably at a bigger scale than what your parents could ever imagine. So I love that. And then I love that you actually working with a private equity firm. You didn't go there to just work. You went there to learn and to evaluate, okay, how can I make this better for my people? That's so important. And I'm glad that you were cautious enough to do that, because some people don't care. They don't even care about, looking back. They're looking forward, right? And my mission is all about lifting as I climb. I'm not where
Exactly.
I'm still going to try to bring my people with me. I'm going to try anyway.
Absolutely. No, and I think that when it comes down to real estate, a lot of times it's just not really thought about, right? So many times we always say, hey, look at what I've done or look how many deals that I've done. The message that I preach is a little bit different, because what I believe is that while you may be the best at what you do, I also believe that I can be the best at what I do. So I have friends that are, whether they're actors or whether they're, singers or, or whether they're doctors or lawyers, right? You are the best in your profession. So why not be hyper focused and very much focused on being the best at what you do while then investing in each other's business, right? If I get sick, I want to go see my friend that's a doctor. If I need a haircut, I'll go see my friend that's a barber. So in the case of real estate, why would I try to challenge the status quo when there's people like you, there's people like Winfield, there's people like myself that wake up and think about this and do this every day?
Love that. Love that. And what I do want to talk about is why Baltimore. I mean, I know why Baltimore, but the people that are listening may not know, outside of you growing up in Baltimore, outside of you seeing a lot. I mean, no, I grew up in Newark. I grew up in Brooklyn first, then moved to Newark. So I know what Baltimore has to offer, because I'm sure in Newark, trust me, I almost got shot a couple times. Anyway,
For sure.
Baltimore is more than that. Baltimore is very big, actually. You have the city, you have the county. I actually went to school at Eastern Shore for 1 year, and people just thought I was from Baltimore, but I wasn't.
Yes.
But anyway, why Baltimore? Like, why are you and why should others invest in the Baltimore market, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think Baltimore is similar to Newark. So we went to school at NJIT in Newark. So we are very familiar with Newark as well. I think it has similar dynamics, right? Port City, it has the biggest employer in the country, which is the United States government. We have state and local governments, which I believe 66% of the people work for. So, great employment statistics. But then we're also 3 hours away from New York and New Jersey, an hour away from Philly, and 45 minutes away from DC and Northern Virginia, which is becoming, a powerhouse with Amazon and, government contractors that are moving there. And we're probably going to be the number 1 or 2 life science provider in the country outside of, Silicon Valley, as well as Boston. And then also we're the second highest grossing casino revenue in the country outside of Las Vegas, right? So when you look at Baltimore, the Baltimore metro area, it has all the things that people love about other cities. The only thing that we do not have yet is housing, right? So we have the jobs, we have the revenue, we need housing, right? So really, I think, our city, even though it has a somewhat bad reputation, it is moving forward and becoming the most affordable option in the, tri-state area where you live, but also in the DMV, right? So people can move there. The employment numbers are still, you can get a job there and make a lot of money. And it's still, as far as for Black people, our state is probably the richest Black state in the country. So if you look like us, it's probably a place you should move. I know everybody loves Atlanta, but probably a place you should move, where people who are actually, getting work done are living.
I agree. 1,000%. 1,000%. So let's talk to the listeners about the company myZorro. What is myZorro? For starters, so one of y'all can say what it is.
Yeah. So I'll jump in here. So like myZorro is a crowdfunding platform, right? If you look at it in the most simplistic terms, it's an opportunity for people to really understand real estate, people to have an entry point in real estate, and people to be able to obtain, whether it's a fraction of real estate, or if you have the network or the net worth or the capital, you can buy out a whole project yourself. But what we found is, as I mentioned, from a private equity company, people from other races are doing this. People are dropping $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 on a deal without ever seeing the developer, without ever speaking to the developer. The reason being is they know that if they can get 5% on their money, that money is better. It's better to have that money working for you than having that money sitting to, in this case, a crypto account or the stock market, right? Because real estate is a hard asset. So what I want to do is I wanted to be able to create the visibility. We wanted to be able to remove how opaque real estate is, right? Real estate is very difficult to understand. It's its own language, very similar to being a doctor, right? It's its own language, or being an athlete, right? It's certain things that from being in different industries, that there's a specific way that you have to do business. But what we want to do is we want to be able to have conversations, bring awareness, bring opportunity back to our community, so that no matter where you're from, right? Whether you're from New Jersey, whether you're from New York, whether you're from Baltimore, whether you're from Georgia, we want to be able to create the opportunity for you to walk down your neighborhood and say, hey, not only did I grow up in this neighborhood, but I own that building.
That's awesome. That's dope. So if someone that is listening, or myself, wanted to invest in your development projects through myZorro or in the Baltimore market, how would they go about doing it?
Yeah. So the first thing that we like to do is we like to always educate, right? So you can go to myZorro.io. That's our website. And you could go there and be able to get your first layer of information on the deal. What we want to do is we want to make sure that there's so many, like cap rate and preferred return. And, in our case, you would be pledging capital for a deal. We want to make sure that you feel comfortable with the terminology and the language, and being able to understand, hey, what does the development process even look like?
Right.
What does it even mean to close on land, or be able to have a comprehensive design, or have an architect, or have engineers? We want to be able to walk you through, because we feel like it's our mission, it's our service to be able to educate you first, right? If you understand what real estate is and why people are being able to be successful and be able to create generational wealth, the way that I measure myself is I'm measured upon how many people we can get into deals with, ultimately how many millionaires can we create in our community. And real estate is one of the easiest vehicles to be able to create wealth and be able to make you that multimillionaire that you want to be.
That's awesome.
Yeah, let me add on to that. I know me and Nigel have had this goal for a while, like how many accredited investors can we create, right? And the reason why is because that kind of unlocks the access to other opportunities like venture capital, like private equity, like real estate, and these bigger, let's say $50 million plus projects where you need to have that accreditation, to, actually participate. So that's been a mission for us. And the way we do that is obviously using technology to bridge that gap, right? It's not, the fact that we are on Zoom right now shows you that we can talk to each other without having to be in the same room. there's no reason why we can't do that in a similar way with investing.
Well, that's awesome. And I love that you said that you're looking to create more accredited investors. Now, for those who don't know, let us know, what is an accredited investor?
You say, Nigel, you want to take it or you want me to?
No, you take it. You're right.
Oh yeah. So accredited investor is somebody who makes an income of $250,000, or has a net worth of $1 million outside their principal residence, right? And if we look in our community, it's not that many people that have that, right? A lot of our wealth is stored into our house, right? And a lot of us don't make, that type of income. And some of us are married to make that joint income of a little bit more than that. So it's a tough hurdle that I hope is going to be changed soon, but we need to make more accredited investors so we can have a little bit more access to wealth creation that will continue to happen in all sectors.
I love that. And I think that's a great intentional goal. It's truly helping people build wealth. And in this case, I'm going to assume the entry point to start investing in your projects or in myZorro is not being in a net worth of $250K, right? It's probably a couple of thousand, right? Or you might even a couple of hundreds. I'm not sure. You could tell us.
Yeah. So today we start off with a $1,000 investment, right? So $1,000 investment gets you equity in the deal, because what we want to teach our people how to have equity in deals, right? So they get you equity in the deal, get you ownership in the deal. And I think Winfield can talk a little bit more about how that looks today and in the long term. But then the other side that we have coming is we're actually going to lower the entry point even further in the coming months, where it's going to be just $100 for you to get involved. And that's going to be based off of a couple of different themes and a couple of different fund structures to be able to get people involved into actual themes that they care about within their community or outside of their community, right? Because there are people that care about certain initiatives far beyond their community, and you want to be able to see your dollar spread wealth throughout our communities and throughout the world.
That's incredible. I don't think I've ever heard of the $100 entry. That's good. But again, the great thing is you're taking people they have probably no clue about real estate. You're giving them the opportunity to invest, and you're also educating them throughout the process. And I think that's the main key, because I've seen a lot of disaster stories. You're not going to drop any names, where I feel like people don't understand real estate, so they don't understand how things work. I actually used to be a corporate paralegal, real estate paralegal, and a trust and estates paralegal. So I worked in an actual hedge fund law firm. So, I wish I would have took their whole context.
See, I'm not going to go on the record to say that's what I did, but I met some people that had some really good ideas. And, we took our ideas and we took them to the next levels.
Right. But, I wish I could. Yeah. And we had investors everywhere. Cayman Islands, China, Russia, everywhere. Anyway. So I was the one actually doing the paperwork, the MMOs and OMs and all PPOs, whatever the heck it's called. Anyway, with that being
so you saw that money and you know how much is out here, right? No, but you know what though? I was going through something the other day, and I'm always looking for different ways to think of a digestible way for people like us to know, what's actually happening. But if you think about, and I think a lot of us grew up in the church, right? You think about the way the church had the building fund. Well, imagine you investing, or you're giving money into the church building fund, but now you have equity in it. That's all we know.
Let me tell you something. I love my church. And in my church, I just joined. Well, I've been a part of the church for a while, but I didn't join. I was at another church. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. So I just paid $5 million cash for their new building.
Yeah.
I love that they actually use the money to buy a building, God's temple, right? So we can go and worship. But yeah, it would have been awesome to know that
you have equity, right?
Yes, equity in that property.
Imagine talented individuals, and I don't know if we're going to get to this today, but Winfield can talk a little bit about his structure, and I'd be willing, and I'm sure he can throw a range out there, but I'd be willing to bet that he would have been able to get a lot more than just one building for a church with $5 million based off of his strategy, and I'm sure based off of your strategy, right? So I don't know if I could throw a softball to win as to how we could really do some really cool things with $5 million, or what comes to his mind, just off the top of his mind. But I think we would be shocked at how far that dollar can go, especially when we put our dollars together.
Well, let us know when,
Yeah.
because my pastors may be listening.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. So the way that I was taught to look at a lot of this real estate in general is a cost to value type proposition, right? Everyone should look at everything like that in their life. Does it cost me too much? Is it worth more than what it cost me? Then I'm good. If it's not, then I don't think I should do that, right? We always have to do a cost benefit analysis and everything in life. So with real estate, it's no different, right? And because we have an appraisal company, because I was trained in that mindset, when we look, the best cost to value ratio is in our own communities, right? So that means that there is more value in our communities than what it costs to purchase. So although we may say like, oh, well, nobody wants that, there's no value in that property there, the numbers are telling us different. And we say, our music says all the time, numbers don't lie, right? So sometimes we have to go and say, okay, these numbers are telling me one thing, even though we have a perception or mindset of something else, then we have to really go with what the numbers say. So in Baltimore in particular, the proposition that we see is that we are buying properties, and this goes into what you said about even with the city, like, do we work with the city and things like that? But we are buying properties at 90% of what the true value is, right? So if I was to tell you, hey, your favorite Rolex that you've been wanting all your life is 90% on discount, and you can get it today, everyone would buy it and they would take it to the club the next day and show it off to everybody. And they would think it is full value, and everyone would look at it as full value and agree that this is valuable. But what you paid for it is different than what the value everyone else sees. And that's no different than everyone else being the bank or any lender. And then you being the purchaser of that Rolex or acquirer of that property, where you've paid $100,000 for a property, but it's worth 1.5 million. And this isn't conjecture. It's a case that we've actually done and is verifiable. And, if anybody wants to look at the research as well as the appraisals that we do, so we like to verify everything. We like to let people know that we can show and prove, right? Like, if I scored 20 points in a basketball game, you see it on the box score, right? So we want to make sure we got our box score ready for everybody so they can check the points that we scored. So that is exactly what we do. And I think it's probably similar in Newark, it's probably similar in Memphis, similar in, let's say Detroit, Ohio and Cleveland, right? All these places where we live, there's value there. So I believe, and Nigel believes, that the next frontier of real estate development is our communities. Now, the question is, are we going to be the ones to actually implement the next frontier of wealth creation in this country? That's the question we remain. But I love like conversations like this, as well as your conference, which was amazing, because you see that we're on the right path. So that's the optimistic side of it. But we've done this in Baltimore for the last 3 years, on the multifamily side. So, as we deliver projects, we're making money for our investors before a building even goes.
Let's talk about how to actually work with these cities. I mean, working with the cities actually helped me a great deal, catapulted me as a developer. I mean, I think we even said during the conference that I was able to purchase land for about $1 to $1.50 per square foot, right? In the city of East Orange. Newark, they're a little bit more. It's more like $4 to $6 a square foot, which is still fine. But we're talking about land that you're possibly buying for about 30 grand, but it's really worth 150,000. So we're still talking about pennies on the dollar. Baltimore, the same thing. I've started a lot of attempts in Baltimore with y'all city, and actually get land all the time from the city of Baltimore and properties. And maybe we might be able to partner, right? Going forward. Now I know y'all where I want to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Working. But how does one actually work with the city? What are some things, how would they package themselves to work with the city of Baltimore?
Yeah, I'm gonna start. I can get to that, but I want to start first with like why we didn't initially go to work with the city, right? Okay. And this may be my least politically correct answer, but
I'll be talking greasy and spicy.
but essentially, we grew up in Baltimore. And I've seen what the political system did to my family when I was young.
Mhm.
I've seen what it has done to our city. And the last 3 mayors uh, have been resigned for either corruption or improprieties or went to jail. So with that being said, when I returned home, our city was still in shambles. So one of the problems is that the city agencies or departments weren't operating correctly, right? And when you're not operating correctly, stagnation happens. Or if you're giving things to your friends, now your friends are making money behind the scenes and, you making backdoor deals. That's not good for any city, right? And we see that for cities, countries, wherever you are. If the government's not operating for the best interest of the people, then the city will remain in shambles. So we chose that, hey, we can get the same value that the city is providing privately. So that's what we did and had benefited from that. But to move on to how to work with Baltimore City, I would say first, maybe get somebody that's from the city. Baltimore is a very 250 plus neighborhoods. So you can imagine that if you don't build a relationship in one of those 250 neighborhoods, somebody may have a problem with what you're doing, or your property will not be protected, which I think is one of the most important things in Baltimore is that you want to make sure your property is protected as far as people either treating the tenants right or people who buy it, residents. You want to make sure it's protected. So, ingratiating yourself in Baltimore with the right people is important. Baltimore is very political, like most places. I'm pretty sure it's the same in Newark, but I think one thing that Newark has gotten right is that they actually have a program that will help you, that will help other Black developers and, minority developers, women. We do not have that, right? So it's really a free fall in a sense, but the city does do a couple good things. We do have great code maps, which will allow you to identify vacant properties. So that's the first thing I would do is go on the code map. Where are the vacant properties, right? Where are the city-owned properties? They're all color-coded. I will go on there. The second thing I would do is once you have that, I would reach out to the district representative for Department of Housing in Baltimore City. And then once you speak with them, you'll go through, the vacancy value process or the acquisition process. We're actually going through that right now with a lot that we want to build that's next to our major redevelopment project. So strategically, if you're already doing stuff there, you can start looking at things around where you already own, which Baltimore City would love because they want comprehensive development, right? One thing once you are with your district representative and you build that relationship, you'll go through that process of acquiring the property where it has to go through a committee. They have to approve it and they approve it for a particular price, right? You do get to dictate, like in some ways dictate your price, right? Because it's really based on what you can do to be able to sell it, right? If you're trying to flip it, if you're trying to hold it, it's based on what you can do as far as a loan to value area. And then they also have like, if you're not doing the actual renovation or construction, they have like a baseline number that you have to be at for renovation or construction based on previous projects. So once you go through that, they'll give you land, you go through all your permits, and then you cannot purchase it until you get your permits, right? And then once you get that, you line up your financing, then you're off to the races, right? But the city, I would say, is easy to deal with once you know people. If you don't know anybody, it is a stretch. I'm pretty sure it's the same in Newark, where you have to continue to email people over and over and over again. And see me, and Nigel will tell you, I'm the pull-up king. So if I know you're going to be here, I'm coming to you, and I'm going to, keep you off guard. So even if you go to any event, you're going to assume I'm going to be there. So, cause I know every event that's going to happen. So if I think you're going to be there, I'm going to be there. So I think one of the biggest things is to be persistent and actually, this is a people business, as you know, talk to the people, right? Get to build a relationship with them, let them know that you're here and put the pressure on them. Cause, our city officials sometimes are, they're busy. When 5 o'clock comes, they going home.
Yeah, I had to pull up one yesterday on the phone, and he better call me back by 4 o'clock today, else I'm calling him. I'm gonna just go. Yeah, I don't play those. So we're not going to talk about Newark right now because that's a offline conversation. But very similar with politics. And I do think it's an organization type of thing. And I feel like the staff just doesn't know how to get the job done, at least for Newark, in a timely manner, because people are waiting a number of years to buy lots, and it shouldn't take that long.
Oh yeah, we don't have to do years. Yeah, I would say Baltimore's one of the most organized cities I've seen.
They are. They actually are, because the way they send me everything down to the thing I forgot the name of it. But what is it? DHCC or DC?
Yeah. DCHD. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very organized. They know their inventory. They know when they want to sell it.
Oh, yeah.
North never knows
what they have.
Oh, I'm over here talking crap. Anyway, that's my nerve right now.
Yeah, we're very organized.
Yeah,
that's why I said the first thing you should do is go on Cold Map, and you'll see everything. We have everything there. But we have auctions. So once things are on receivership, you can get city-owned properties through auction, which they'll have a big auction on the 9th, actually, if anybody can qualify for that. There's a big auction of 53 different properties throughout the city. So we may be participating in that as well, but that's there. Also, we have tax lien sales, which is a process that we go through with the city. We personally don't get properties that people live in.
Right.
We personally only do tax liens for vacant land because really the people that can't pay the taxes are usually look like us. So we want to make sure we stay away from that. But I've also seen that vacant land tax liens over the last year, we used to buy them for, let's say, $300, $400, $500. Now they're going for $10,000, $20,000, right? And that's for a tax lien. So anybody who owns vacant land in Baltimore, you're not paying $20,000 as well as your taxes. So that land is gone. And groups are buying it. These are groups of people who are buying it.
So I was going to say, why don't you guys buy it? Because we don't want the others to buy it. We need to.
No, we have. We have a capacity issue, which ties back to myZorro, which is why we created it, because we have that capital capacity issue. And a lot of the issues, and you know this from actually operating, we can do as much as our capital allows us to do. And a lot of times when you're first time, second time, or third time developers, the capital is not there. Once you get from 3, people will hand you money because it's a skill. But in the beginning, we wanted to use myZorro as a launch pad for developers that want to, one, be community oriented, but then also want to launch them to institutional dollars, where now they can go get those $5 million, $10 million checks, where they can live, like you said, and my fraternity says all the time, lift as we climb. If you listen as you climb, now you've lifted somebody else because you proved the theory. And then now we can be the providers of capital, and more people will want to flood into the industry because there's access to capital, there's access and investors as well, because there's access to deals.
Right. I love that. So let's actually talk about some of the projects that I see y'all funded a few big projects. Y'all doing what y'all supposed to do. So congrats. Let's talk about some of the projects you have funded over the last year or so, by using the myZorro or creating the myZorro app.
Yeah. So if you think about myZorro, a little about this time last year, Winfield and I, we funded the project, and what we did was we just leveraged our network, right? So I believe that project was, I think Win found the project was about $165,000. What he always talks about is highest and best use, right? So there was a single family house that we went out and we went to go purchase, but the land or the property itself wasn't of highest and best use. And being able to bring the education, bring Win's experience to our group of friends, our group of family, our group of potential investors, and being able to allow them to see that, hey, your dollar is actually not a dollar. Your dollar could be $5. Your dollar could be $10. And how can we bring those same dynamics that we use when, we say we're going to a birthday dinner, or we're going on a vacation, or we're going to the club? How do we bring those same dynamics in to the real estate area, the real estate industry, right? So that's really where we started to turn the corner. The business of myZorro was created really when we were in New Jersey, right? So Winfield himself, he was a brain trust with myZorro. He came up with this, knowing what is that had done on the development side? For me, it was more of, my dad had relationships. My dad played NFL, right? So he had relationships. He knew, different developers and different, people that had power. And by him knowing those different individuals, they would come to him, right? And they would ask him, hey, can you come up with $2 million? He come up with $5 million to get this deal done. Can we come up with gap funding here to get this deal done? For me, it was a natural progression, right? So it was being able to leverage Win's brain trust and saying, hey, this is the type of infrastructure that we're going to need. And then for me saying, okay, these are the relationships that I've been able to cultivate, that my dad's been able to cultivate, that Win's been able to cultivate. But ultimately, how do you monetize your network? Right. I think a lot of times, like we it's so easy for any of us to create a group chat and say, hey, look, what we're going to do is we're going to go on this trip. We're going to go to Bali. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. But how do you actually monetize your network? Well, the only way to monetize your network is to educate, right? The only reason why we know that Bali has whatever it has or Dubai has what it has is because it's been marketed. It's been, the brand awareness has been created. But we're going to take those same attributes, right, of a Nike, right? So when you see the myZorro website, we actually built it off of some of the same psychology of Nike. And when you see our Android and iOS app that's going to come out in the top of 2023, you're going to see a lot of the same dynamics of an Amazon, the same dynamics of a Nike, because those are websites as consumers that our community is spending a lot of time on, spending a lot of money on. What we want to do is we want to also bring in the education component of some of your Earn Your Leisures and some of these different podcasts where you can have a digital presence, you can have the accessibility, you can have the opportunity to then be able to become an accredited investor, be able to become a equity owner in some of these different projects. So when you look at myZorro holistically, it's simply just taking the same dynamics of Nike, taking the same dynamics of Amazon, taking the same dynamics of we want to go on a vacation and bringing it together to be able to, as you mentioned, create these opportunities where instead of us saying for my 30th birthday, we're going to go to Dubai, we're going to say on my 30th birthday, why don't we put up money and we buy back our block? We buy back our community, right? So we want to change the narrative. We want to change the cultural construct of how our money should be used, where we can invest here to be able to make money and create financial freedom over there.
First of all, y'all only 30 years old.
He beat me to it. So when it's 30, I'm 29. I'll be 30 in a couple of months.
God bless y'all, first of all. To capacity to want to do this and want to care about community development, especially where you grew up, and just forcing the change that you want to see. So I commend. Oh, I'm 33. I'm acting like I'm so much older. But no, it's good to see that, like, especially with our men, right? And I don't want to make this about race, but it's good to see it. So, and it's good that you're continuing to build your family, your father's legacies. I think fathers are important. And you guys are the evidence of what good fatherhood, even if they're trying their best, can reap. The seed that was sown is being reaped, is being fruitful, and it's just coming full circle. So I love that. What was I about to ask Max?
And I would say kudos to you too, right? Because I think that as a queen and being able to build this platform and being able to develop as a whole, right? I think that it's very difficult as it is, right? In the real estate industry. We heard Marjorie Perry really just walk through her path and some of the different challenges that she's gone through, but also there's so many successes that she's had. And I think that one of the things that Winfield and I talk about, and really what we think that myZorro will be built on, and I think, a lot of people will be shocked with, myZorro will be built on, it'll be built on the queens. It'll be built on Black women, because you guys actually drive culture. You guys drive decisions, right? You guys determine what's cool. It's not us. We just follow your lead, right? So at the end of the day, we're going to do some really good work. We're going to provide a lot of opportunity. But our target market, our target audience is really just being able to create as many successful Black women as we possibly can, to be able to lift them up and give them an opportunity to be able to invest in real estate and live out their dreams.
No, not only, but we do need the Black man. You have to go into race.
No, we do. Yeah, we do.
It's just, we need each other. We're the only ones that understand each other. And we have to be intentional about, despite what media says, despite the circumstances you dealt with certain Black women, that we do need each other to keep this train going. All right.
Totally.
We need.
I agree.
Of course, you need God too. That's number one.
Always.
The number one source. So we need each other. And, not for nothing, God may say, hey, Deontay, your husband is white. You may say that.
It can happen. No, it for sure can happen. For sure.
But he did show me mine. He ain't white. But anyway, with that being said, it might be a situation like that, but we still have to be very intentional about still uplifting our communities, our people. And then for those who may have projects like myself, right? I do have access to a lot of lenders. I'm actually organizing myself for the $1 billion people.
Okay? Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'm building up the confidence too, to get into the boardrooms with them. So I love that y'all do come from like private equity background, because that's important to have that lingo.
Absolutely. No, it's a game changer.
I don't have the lingo yet.
Yeah, no, it's I would say the lingo and the infrastructure, right, is really the difference, right? That's a matter of doing, let's just say, 30 unit deal or 300 unit deal, right? It's all infrastructure, and I think that you build trust, you build track record with your infrastructure and the lingo.
Exactly. And like while we were on this call, my project that I'm working on in Kansas City, that individual just called me. We're doing 200 houses, right? So how we fund that deal is going to be different how I would fund a 4-unit in Newark, right? So it's just totally different. More paperwork, more red tape, more making people like you, making people favor you and gravitate to you. And again, learning the lingo, although I feel like I'm knowledgeable, I know it's a different level I'm going to. So I'm always educating myself, and I never know enough, in my opinion. But are you funding other individuals or other developers deals through the myZorro app as well?
Yeah. So this year, what we wanted to do is we really just wanted to focus on bringing on 2 different developers. So this far, we've brought on 2 different developers on our platform. At the top of 2023, once that app is built out from the Android and iOS sense, and I talked to you about, being able to have people come in that actually a lower dollar denomination. I think that's going to open up a lot of opportunity for us to be able to fund different types of deals from different types of developers. Just a question that we actually get from a lot of venture capitalists. They say, hey, how are you guys going to find people that have deals? And, Winfield talked about his network. I talked about my network. There's no shortage of people that have really, really good deals. What's important is that we have the capital on that. We leverage, the expertise of people that can evaluate deals to make sure that those funds go into the right deals at the right time.
Let's dive deeper on that aspect of like just that question. Like, how are you going to find developers? And it's like, the ignorance or the arrogance of, although nice people, but people that don't look like us is really ridiculous sometimes. Like, how are you finding your deals to find companies? How did you find us? Right? You built the relationships, you took the time, and clearly there are people who need it, because if you look outside in our major cities, there's housing is a shortage. And if you know that, then you would like some of the common sense that is missing on the people that fund companies like myZorro or developers is almost ridiculous. And I think one of the things that we have done well in our network, as well as what we're trying to do with myZorro, is explain to people who are not in our community that you can still have an impact and put your dollar in, but it's still what we want to accomplish. And you would never get access to this, right? You going into Newark and us going into Baltimore, there's a different conversation, there's a different perspective, and there's a different connection that we have with our people, that if a white developer or operator goes in and tries to, redevelop or revitalize our community. But when we do it, it's kind of different, right? And if I was to go, for example, let's say Morristown, New Jersey. If I was to go to Morristown, New Jersey, and I wanted to develop, it would be different. I don't have access to Morristown. If I was white and I had access to Morristown, conversation's a little different. There is a parallel there. There is no difference in what we do in our own communities. Now, if I have access to somebody who develops in Morristown, Long Branch, all these different places where people want to be, I can invest in that person. What's the difference with what we're trying to accomplish, right? So the ignorance or arrogance of people in other communities is almost ridiculous. And the lack of common sense that this is the same exact thing is sometimes what we have to overcome. And hopefully we can be that bridge for people like yourself, people like us, where now you don't even have to go outside your own community, or you just have access to everyone. And hopefully internationally as well, where we can put internationally, if you are in Uganda, if you are in Kenya, if you are in Ghana, Jamaica, Nigeria, if you are in, you have to. And if you're in Dominican Republic, if you're in Mexico, and you want to see things get better here, they can get better. Now you can vote with your dollar. And I think that's the biggest thing, that sometimes we vote with our ballot. Now we're trying to present the opportunity to vote with our dollar. And I don't want to put any of our competitors out there, but no one knows our competitors because they don't use them. So we are, and we will be, what's culturally relevant in real estate. And like Nigel mentioned, Black women will be the foundation of that. And I would be hard pressed to name, and Nigel can correct me if I'm wrong, we'll probably at the end of the year be at $2 or $3 million raised in total on the platform. So I would name, I would want to name another place that you can do that. And that is giving people access to that. And if people can name that person, then we need to collaborate with them, right? Because we don't have an ego with how we do it. Let's take the best of what we have, the best of what you have, and let's create a powerhouse, right? So that's the most important thing.
No, I love it. I'm down to create the powerhouse with y'all.
Let's
and
do it.
Black women, and this is what made me want to start working with women. One, I am a woman. Two, when I got started, these resources was not here. I was getting fired from jobs. I had a 2-year-old daughter, newly single. Like, it was like a lot. And my back was up against the wall, bad credit, no car. But I was like, no, I know I can do this. I'm going to learn the strategy. And I had to start out as a wholesaler. But at the end of the day, I know that the Black women, we're the glue for our communities. Like, no matter what happens in the community, it's going to be a Black woman there, period. No matter if men leave.
You guys have done your job.
Yeah, we're tired. We're a little tired. You're also young. It can be tiring sometimes. However, because we are our community, typically, we're not going nowhere. We're here. We're going to raise these children no matter what. I feel like it's important for us to be a part of the conversation with building our community. First of all, building the wealth in our community, preserving our community. I think the others, when they come in, every urban community around America is for sale. And like we said earlier, we're not always capitalizing on that sale. And that's because of lack of education, right? So just learning little things. And again, your platform is going to be the bloodline breaker, the curse breaker here, because you're letting them invest for $100 and you're teaching them the business. So now something might open up in their mind, like, hey, okay, well, you're showing me this. Maybe I don't have the capacity to build myself, but maybe I could just find the land. Maybe I could just put all the people together, and then maybe I could just sell the whole project, right?
Yep.
It's not all about building. It's about putting the people and the things together. So I love what you're doing. Of course, the podcast is here to also convey, one, we're interviewing people, but the direction it's supposed to go into, because I was supposed to stop doing interviews a while ago. But the direction it's going into is teaching from the platform.
Yep.
So anytime somebody's going to sit here for an hour, they should be learning something on how to make their life better. If they're investing money in companies like yours, they should be learning how to make their life better, right? So I love that you implemented that education tool as well. And I'm here for Black and brown and, men and women, just uplifting and building our communities and sticking together and being patient with each other and giving grace to each other. And I would love to continue, of course, this conversation, but of course, work with you guys, mainly because you're in a market that I've been trying to get into. And I'm like, maybe it's not for me right now. But Baltimore is definitely a place where any person that's listening to this call, you can invest in today. Yes, you have to come correct and be packaged correctly. But like Win and Nigel said, you can go to their auctions. You guys are going to send me the auction link, I'm sure, after this conversation, right? So I don't have to go.
Right.
We may or may not. I don't know if we're going to post this interview before then. But with that being said, once you sign up, you can get the alerts. They'll send you emails of what they have for sale or for auction from time to time. I know I get some of them most of the time. So people, be intentional. Don't just listen to this and get a natural high from the information. Start implementing, start asking the questions. Sometimes you do have to pay in a room. Sometimes you do have to pay attention. So invest in yourself. I had to pay $200 for a Fortune Builders conference many, many years ago just to unlock my mindset, first of all, about money, right? About wealth. And also to learn wholesaling. I didn't even know wholesaling existed. I went there to learn about fixer-uppers, right? And flipping, all this other stuff. But I learned about wholesaling, and that was the key to help me build my capital and to help me learn about development ultimately, right? So sometimes you have to pay and invest in yourself. So I hope people are listening and they're willing to do the small work. And not to like shun nobody, like sometimes like people pull on my heartstring and I'm like, you know what? I want to work with them. I want to teach them investing. But guess what? I be wasting my time sometimes. Like people say it. And some people may be listening. Hey, it is what it is. Like, then, we're really unlocking fear, defeat, all bondage that we've been identifying with over the years. So I think it's really a mind shift where we have to know we're developers, know we're investors before we actually start doing the work. Know in your mind, like, this is who you are, no matter what your bank account looks like. And then use your bank account as your motivator. That's your number. That should be your mentor. At least it was my mentor. Okay. Because I had like $10 to get to a property. And I turned that $10 into thousands, right?
Yep.
I knew, like, listen, my bank account's not where it needs to be. I can't feed my daughter. I think at the time, I was surviving off of like $400 in child support. That ain't no money. Pay rent, take care of a child, right?
No,
but
sir.
That was my motivation. Like, this is not your story. So I think people, men, women, I don't care if you're sitting in prison somewhere listening to this, that's not your story. You better learn real estate while you're in prison and come out and hit the ground running. Okay, I'm done for today.
No, that's fantastic. No, thank you. And
this was great. Was there anything you wanted to add that we didn't touch on? I feel like we went on tangent.
Yeah. No, I had one last thing that I wanted to add. That regardless of what your skill set is, real estate can be for everyone, right? Your skill set doesn't necessarily have to be a developer. Your skill set could be just identifying good people. You could have really good intuition and knowing who good people are. And if you know who good people are, or if you know people that have money, there are ways for you to be able to monetize your relationship. There are ways for you to be able to still create that group chat and invest into Deontay's deals, invest into Winfield's deals, and being able to create what's called a syndicate, right? A syndicate is no more than a group of people that all want the same thing. And you have access to what these people want. Provide people that access, and there's a way for you to make money in real estate and for you to be able to create a substantial real estate portfolio. Connect yourself with experts, right? I think in every step of life, we always want to connect ourselves with experts, whatever you care about. This isn't a real estate conversation. Real estate is a byproduct of some of these life principles that have carried us all through our life, right? And I think that that has led to us to be able to do some really incredible deals that has allowed us to have some incredible impact. But last but not least, the next impact that we are looking to have is Winfield and I right now, we're raising capital for a 60-unit property. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with Johns Hopkins Hospital by way of the pandemic. But that's a hospital that's very near and dear to our heart in Baltimore. And I'll leave you guys with one other thing. You can be a part of that project. You can actually add 60 units to your portfolio for as little as $1,000. So you're talking about going from a person that has no real estate or no units in your portfolio to being able to have a massive 60 units in your portfolio that you don't get paid on one time, but you get paid on every single month, right? And you get paid every single month until perpetuity. So until we decide to sell that project. If we refinance a project, you would still be a part of that refinance because you have equity in the project, right? So by us talking about equity and talking about ownership, because you are an owner, as the value of that property goes up, your net worth goes up, right? As the rates go up, you make more money every month, right? We want to create these different opportunities for you. And on top of that, this property is in an opportunity zone. I wouldn't be me if I didn't leave you with some homework, do some research, and understand what an opportunity zone is. And then the next thing that you'll want to do is you'll probably want to DM one of the three of us as to how you can be a part of deals like this.
Awesome. I mean, if you have time, you could say what an opportunity zone is. They should know at this point. If you
Give
want.
these people some homework. Give these people some homework. We didn't give them enough game.
We did.
Give these people some homework. If you want anything, you got to work.
No, I agree. And I do love that you even presented that opportunity. And I think it's a no-brainer. Everybody that's listening, including myself, should be investing some capital into that project. It will look great on your portfolio resume that you're a part of a project, especially if you want to work with these cities. They want to see what work you have done. They don't want to work with newbies. So that would be a great segue into real estate by just investing $1,000 and adding a 60-unit property to your portfolio.
No brainer.
It's a no-brainer, right? And then you're learning from Nigel and Win, so it's a super no-brainer. So, Win, any last remarks?
No, that's it. I think the last thing you just said, which is cities don't want to work with newbies. You have to partner and collaborate. And if it's, Nigel, obviously our deal is a partnership. It is a collaboration at its finest. And we do that with everybody. Like you said, seek experts. So we want to be with the best people. And I think people should do that. And investing in this deal, we will, walk people through the whole process while we're going through the deal. The education piece and then the unlocking fear is what you said is what we're trying to do. So this is the way. $1,000 to unlock your fears, right? Is to me a great cost to benefit analysis, right? It's pretty cheap to unlock fear.
Mm-hmm. It is. And you're also making money off of your $1,000. So it's not like buying a course that you're never going to watch. People buy courses all the time. I coach people and they don't even listen to me. Or they probably, oh, well. In their crowdfunding company. So guys, thank you so much for coming on here. You just literally unlocked something in me, right? During this conversation. And I feel like this podcast episode will definitely be some type of deliverance to somebody that's listening because they needed to hear everything we talked about today. So everyone, make sure you go look for Nigel and Win on Instagram. You guys, you can drop your, you can tell them how to find you on Instagram and LinkedIn, and tell them more on how to find the myZorro app or website. So give them all of your contacts now.
Sure, go ahead, Wayne.
Yeah, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn at Winfield Willis II, and Instagram at Win Willis.
Cool. And you can find me. My name's Nigel Sydnor. That's Nigel. Last name Sydnor, SYD as in David, ANOR. I respond to DMs all the time. So feel free to just shoot me a DM. I also have a Calendly link in my bio. So if you ever want to just jump on a call, feel free to just click that link and then we'll be able to talk about real estate or just talk about, your journey and how you want to advance your journey or unlock that fear. I'm to be used as a resource.
Awesome. Now don't go in there and waste any time now. Ladies, don't go flirting. Don't play.
Nah, you know what though? What I found, and I will say that a lot of people want to, they want the same thing. So they want to do real estate. I don't necessarily look at it as a waste of time simply because some of our best investors have grown up with us 15 years ago, right? And it's because they watch our journey for the last 10 years, the last 15 years, that's allowed to build trust and build comfort in investing in us. And I think that one thing that came out of this conversation by us being young individuals, we're all prized to make more money tomorrow than we did today, right? So understanding that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, as we all grow in our careers, as we all develop as into the individuals that we want to be, we'll have more money, we'll have more access. So it's only our job to provide the access and information that someone provided for us. And that's what we try to do.
I agree. And the very first person I sold a property to, he mentored me in so many ways. I did bring value to him. I do say that I did bring value to him. He I did contracts because that was my profession. So he didn't mind really pouring into me, right? Giving me access. Actually, he got me into development, actually, if you want to be technical.
Yeah.
Introduced me to my business consultants at the time. And he helped me become, not so much him, but the people he introduced me to, they have kind of been like destiny helpers along the way. So you just never know who God may use to help you along the way. Whether or not you always work with them, but you never know who God may use to help you. So be mindful of that. And definitely get in contact with these gentlemen, and make sure you go subscribe to the Journey to DevelopHer podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and basically all of the podcast platforms. Okay. So this was great. Y'all have a good day. God bless. And
Thank you so much.
see each other soon. Okay.
Thank you.